Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nick Carter with Shaw Technical, Totalworx. Oh, this is way better than yesterday. Hey, we've got a new invention, innovation product for our floating floor that is it can decrease your install time up to 35%. So this is something new to the market, and it's where I see this really benefiting is that multifamily. So, for example, if I'm a sales rep, right, and I'm going in to specify a floating product, hey, I can take this in there and say, I can save your install time 35%. That's a big deal to close out those jobs and get them commissioned out to turn over to the end user to start leasing out. So what we're talking about right now is it's called Link Spline. So this is a spline that is designed to go underneath floating floors. So the concept would be, hey, if I've got that multifamily apartment where, for example, it's a kitchen, living room, and maybe I got a hallway off to the right, I can install this halfway in that install and go both directions. So if I got a couple of guys going in both directions, it's going to decrease that install time, right? Another key thing too is, if I'm installing throughout a home and I need to backfill into a couple of bedrooms, I can utilize this. Traditionally, what guys have done from an installation standpoint is they would measure off that back wall and fill up to that area and hope it locks in. Some guys are good enough where they can install the product backwards itself without damaging it, but there are specific locking profiles out on the market where you can have a potential for flared corners or flared ends from doing that, installation backwards. So this right here solves that problem for you. So very simple process of, installing this underneath the product. Go ahead and get my knee pads on real quick. Who here knows about flooring? You do? So with a floating floor, right? A floating floor, it has a tongue and groove. The tongue side is always the side that is the smallest on my Link side. So a lot of times I'm gonna pick on some Shaw reps. Every time we go to do a training with Shaw reps, sales reps, we'll ask them that question. And they always point to the part that sticks out the furthest. The part that sticks out the furthest is going to be the groove side. So from an install standpoint, if I'm starting my install out and I'm starting on my back left corner, I would work my way all the way across that room, right, with my groove facing out. Oops. So that's the traditional way. With using the spline, I can start in the middle with both grooves facing outward and do that install. So the method to install this spline would be just removing that link side groove, link side tongue on the link side. So I've already did one right here. You can kind of see how it works. The next one I'm going to do is you can take a utility knife or you can take a hook blade. With a hook blade, these work really good with like a WPC product. When I get over to SPCs, I want to make sure I'm using just a straight edge, and I'll make a couple of passes on that top corner where the top face and the tongue meets. Just kind of glide that in there a couple of times. It's going to release that tongue. So this process that I'm doing is very similar to the same process that I would be doing if I was doing a floating floor plank replacement, right? I'm removing that link side tongue. One thing you want to make sure you look for though is if there's any, humps from that tongue sticking out. So I'm going to check that out. I got a little bit right here. I want to use my hook blade to clean that up. Okay, so we got our planks ready to go. What I want to do next is I want to affix my spline to the bottom side of my product. So on my first plank that I'm starting out with, what I'd want to do is use a 10-second drying super glue applied a bead along that side and place it up underneath that top portion of where that tongue was that I removed. Simple process. So I'm gonna make sure this sets up real quick before I place my other piece in. All I gotta do is just put a little pressure. One thing, if I got a larger job, right, I can set this up and take a box of material, set it over top so I can disperse that weight and get a really good hold across it. I can go ahead and set my planks up before I even start my install. So when I go into the install, I just gotta do my reverse plank into position. So once that's set up, I'll take a bead of super glue on my next portion of my spline. Install my next piece. Again, I want to let that set up for, especially if I'm using a super glue. It's going to probably take about 45 seconds to a minute to set up. Then I can start my install. So a pretty quick method to start an install in a key location where that's a hallway. To split that install so I can get guys going in both directions. So you can see right here, both of my grooves are facing outward. So as I start my install, I can go those, both directions. That's it. Is there any questions? Yes.
Can you stagger the planks, or do they have to be?
No, you can stagger the planks. So the planks, say for example, I got a linked road, right? So I'm gonna have to offset my planks 8 inches minimum. So say I got 5 feet I need to run. Obviously I'm gonna have some staggers within that run where they're meeting up with that spline. Any more questions? Appreciate everyone's time today. Yep.
Look, Mom. I made that.